So hello, welcome to RCR Wireless News. I'm Roberta Prescott and I'm at Huawei Cloud Congress at Shanghai with Ron Raffensperger.
Yes,
Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Okay. So let's start about talking the Huawei strategy of the December 3.0. What Huawei is planning to do? What is this new generation based on cloud? Why is it new and what's its importance?
So what's happening in data centers is that traditionally you had, each large enterprise had their own data center, and they would have all of their own equipment and that sort of thing. And then they moved into being able to use virtualization, which is kind of many people talk about as cloud computing within their business, to be able to more efficiently utilize the hardware that they had. But what's beginning to happen now is a movement towards the data center, not just having one data center, but having multiple data centers, and some of them may not be yours, right? So you might be using cloud computing capabilities from a public data center provider of some kind, right? And so the concept of a data center is moving from this physical thing that I can walk into the room and see it, to more of a logical construct of the data center is made up of various kinds of physical things spread over some geographic set of boundaries, but logically I want to think about it as a single data center.
And how is this connected to active launch?
So there are one of the things that people have a need for as businesses is business continuity, right? What happens if I have an earthquake or I have a fire or a flood or something? And so I need to have my business continue. And historically it wasn't that hard to do. You had your call centers, you had these things that could be distributed, but now with so much being automated and so much being connected to the internet, I need to not have any interruption. And so people are more interested in having a disaster recovery center that is an instant recovery. And so to be able to do that, I need to have things synchronized between the two data centers all the time, right? So that one can just seamlessly take over for the other. And that's what we call active-active.
And what kind of companies are you targeting? I ask because to build a data center requires a lot of money and a lot of time. And the trend we are seeing right now is that companies are just outsourcing their data center services. So while we are seeing these trends, Huawei is betting on this cloud computing offering and data centers to provide IT infrastructure. So what are the goals and targets?
So there are different customers. So for the infrastructure that that Huawei makes, the purchaser might be using it in their private data center, but it also could be part of a public data center. Maybe it's a service provider of various kinds, an ISP, a telecommunications company that wants to get into providing cloud computing. So there are a lot of different kinds of customers, but they have in common that they want to create this cloud computing. So in the case of things like active-active, there you're talking about people where they're business critical kinds of operations. So maybe it's financial, maybe it's these kinds of companies where they just simply can't not have all of their IT systems or their critical ones running at constantly.
You mentioned carriers. We see a lot of telecommunications companies improving the data centers to go to the corporate market offering cloud computing. How I see these trends, and what are you planning to do with this business with carriers?
So we believe that this is a very good area for operators, for carriers to get into, because they have the bandwidth, right? I mean, one of the key things about having your data center, is how can you connect to it, right? When it's in your back room, it's very simple. You run cables from the data center throughout your building, right? It's very simple. But if you move that computing somewhere else, then you need to have very good bandwidth connections to that somewhere else. Otherwise, the productivity of your employees noise suffers. And so if that is, let's say a third-party data center, then I need very good communications from my premise to theirs, and then from theirs to the internet, right? Well, the internet is where the operators are running, right? So if I'm an operator and I also have a data center, they're in the same place kind of thing, right? And so maybe I can more cost-effectively have those kinds of communications than some other people, right? And so the operators want to expand their business. They want to have new kinds of services. They want to be able to not just sell, bits per second connectivity, right?
It's commodities.
Exactly,
they
exactly.
need to go further and to increase their operations.
That's right. That's right.
In addition to the telecommunications market, what else are you focused on? I guess finances, government, and healthcare.
Right. So we have a number of vertical markets that we're focused around, and it depends on which country. So in a lot of the emerging markets, the governments are getting interested in e-government, in smart city, in e-health, e-learning, these kinds of things. And so all of these build on a cloud kind of a platform, and they're all in many cases the government is funding a lot of these initiatives. And if the government can take advantage of a cloud infrastructure that can be logically segmented, right? So they can get the efficiencies of having a large data center, but then have the ability to segment it so that part of it is going for universities, part of it is going for health, part of it is the e-government, but it's securely segmented and so that's why we have our our Manage One software and our various capabilities, so that that we can build very large clouds that can be used for multiple purposes.
You said about the developing markets. What countries are you focusing on, and are you planning to increase this office in the U.S. market when you face some kind of difficulties, when the government label Huawei as a security threat?
We are very globally focused, right? So we're trying to sell everywhere, right? For cloud computing, we've seen particularly good take-up in the in Asia Pacific, in the Middle East, and even in Europe. We're doing quite a lot in Europe. Our business in the U.S. For the enterprise business is increasing. It's totally different than trying to sell to the operators to put in their network, right? And I don't think in the U.S. you'll probably see us selling enterprise IT stuff to the government, but we're certainly open to that. But for normal kinds of enterprises, we're having quite a lot of commercial success.
Do you think it's easier to sell to the corporate markets in the U.S. to general enterprise than to carriers?
Oh, of course, yeah. Because I mean, enterprises are focused on making their business better.
Yeah.
They look around the world and they see, Huawei has very, very large customers, very sensitive industries that they're happy with the security and other capabilities of Huawei, and we can help them to make their business better, to make it more efficient, and that's really their focus.
This enterprise Unity was launched 3 years ago, and we see a lot of more mature companies like IBM, HP, Dell selling the IT infrastructure and a lot of others IT products. So how it plans to battle these companies and to gain their market, being new player?
Right, exactly. Well, but this is really the key is around the things like cloud computing, the changes that from traditional IT to the things that are happening in cloud computing that IT organizations, businesses in particular, want to take advantage of. And so there's a disruption going on in IT, and we can take advantage of that to be able to enter the market with our capabilities around ICT as well as our cloud computing capabilities. We can help bring things to enterprises that the traditional suppliers have trouble doing, and we also bring our background, which is particularly around scalability, reliability,
also have the network products that
Sure.
they don't. So
Yes.
how do you plan to put everything together and to come up with a single offer, for example?
So I think it's not us that's going to be having the single offer. It's because over time the telecommunications network is going to become a cloud also, right? I mean, this is the NFV and SDN are going to turn the public networks into cloud, and the private networks are already moving to cloud. And so the same hardware, the same software infrastructure can be used for both, which gives us an advantage, right? It's one of the underpinnings of our Fusion Sphere virtualization is the ability to also be used in the network function virtualization the operators will do. And the ability to manage all of that is really one of our focus areas, so that it kind of doesn't matter where does the network start, where does it stop, but you can manage all of it together.
Talking about the OpenStack, how Huawei is collaborating with this, and do you think OpenStack platform will have to boost cloud computing adoption into the corporate market?
So what OpenStack gives us is what we're doing with OpenStack is, we are a gold member of the foundation. We contribute a lot of code to to OpenStack, but OpenStack. The advantage of OpenStack, the reason it's becoming so important, is the multi-vendor nature. The fact that, before, if I bought a particular virtualization software, I had to buy its management system. I had to only expand with it. With OpenStack, I can mix vendors and have interoperability. And now the telecommunications operators are also focused on OpenStack as the way to be able to control virtualization in the network. And so that's very important to us as well. So OpenStack is a very key initiative that has lots and lots of the industry players as well as all of the customers excited. And the key advantage is the multi-vendor nature, so that people can use the right kind of cloud computing and networking for that particular task without getting locked in.
So can we expect much more adoption of cloud computing from now on than we had in the past? Or?
I think that it eases the adoption of cloud computing, and so it will help that grow.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.